disappointed for your attendance. May I just say from the commission and from the Utah family, we have missed you. Throughout how long we've been just praying and hoping for this day to arrive so we can meet you in person. Give you the hugs and kisses and say thank you. With that introduction, I'm gonna ask Carlos to give us some instruction what to do without, it's different from past meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is our first, I'll call it hybrid commission meeting. So the commissioners have iPads in front of them that are basically just cameras for them to participate in the meeting. We do have a Commissioner Law who's participating virtually today. So as you know, in a hybrid meeting, we're trying to create a level playing field for all of those commissioners here. The microphones we're using today are actually the two that are located in the front of the room, the ceiling here. We turned off the ones in the back. I'll tell you folks in the back, we can still pick up some of what you might be saying. So if you want something that is said and broadcast over YouTube, just be aware that that might be a potential. So what you might be saying could become very public. So as we speak with the commission, the commissioners will be able to be picked up with these mics, and the folks that address the commission need to come up here. So other than that, this should be, Mr. Chairman, seamless commission meeting.
Thank you, Carlos. With that introduction, then I will call this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is, as usual, we try to live with the region, and for that I've asked a friend, Mr. Waldo, to lead us to pledge. Please all rise. It's time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us have an introduction of the commissioner, and then we'll follow by you, Don. Carlos will give us the introduction. I'm starting with my right hand. Commissioner Waldo.
Jim Evans, Commissioner. I live in Orem, Region 3, which for those who don't know, it's the 6 counties across kind of the middle of the state there, and I'm delighted to be here with you back in person today. And the next step after this will be the work sessions on Thursdays, where we can go out in regions and see all the projects again. I missed that this last year, so good to be here. Thanks.
Wayne Barlow. I represent Region 1, which are the 6 northernmost counties of the state, from Box Elder down through Davis County. I have a home in Cache Valley and Bear Lake.
Luke Kramer, Commissioner at Large, live in downtown Salt Lake. Thank you so much for being here and for carrying the fort in the last 16 months. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for the service and the adventures ahead.
Good morning, Natalie Goffner. I represent Region 2, which is home to our capital city, the seat of government, it's capital county. It's complex, large, and UTA does a great job serving the people of Region 2. So nice to be with you all.
Donna, are you with us? Would you please introduce yourself?
I am Commissioner Donna Locke, calling in live from Cedar City, Utah. I'm so sorry I'm not there with you in person today, but I have a groundbreaking this afternoon for which I'm responsible. But I'm glad to be with you in this hybrid format. And Wayne, I'm just so sorry I'm not there to give you a hug.
Thank you, Donna. And we'll have to miss Commissioner Tassel. He has some prior commitments. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. At this time, I'm going to ask our new commissioner to introduce himself, please.
Thank you. I'm Rhonda Menlove, and we'll be working with Region 1 and appreciate the great job that Wade Barlow has done and that he's paved the way. Thank you.
My name is Nagi Sanadi. I have the privilege of serving as the chair of the commission and coming from St. Louis, Utah. In case you didn't recognize, I brought the cool and the rain with me. You can play whatever you want, Carlos, but I brought the rain. At this time I'd like to recognize also the trustee of the UTA, Beth Holbrook, that she is with us. And did Kim lead?
Yes.
So he was with us too this morning. Carlos, it's your turn to introduce the youth highway, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what I'll do here is, should I try to introduce you all, or should I ask you to introduce yourself? Let's ask you to introduce yourself. Project when you introduce yourself. So name and your position, please. Heather is our commission secretary. I think everyone knows Heather, and we appreciate all she does to keep things working. Then let's start.
Ben Hewitt, UDOT Program Development Director.
Andrea Olson, UDOT Planning Director. Bethany Tomlin, UDOT Planning.
Charles Stormont, I'm the Director of Right-of-Way and Property Management.
Carmen Blunt, UDOT Project Development and Construction.
Brett Snyder, Region 1 Program Manager.
Jared Esmond, Director of Aeronautics.
Rick Portis, Region 4 Director. Monty Aldridge, Region 4 Deputy Director.
Robert Miles, Traffic Safety Director.
Mike Romero, USAID Project Director. I'm Harbor Director of Financial Program. Nathan Lee, UDOT Technology and Innovation. Troy Peterson, Operations Director. Amount Pilling, STIP Coordinator. Nathan Peterson, Region 2 Deputy Director.
Rob Clayton, Region 3 Director. Kurt Lee, Technology and Innovation.
Marianne Noble, Technology and Innovation. Linda Hall, Legislative Policy Services.
Brad Palmer, Region 2 Program Manager.
Elizabeth McMillan, Director of Communications.
Grant Potter, UDOT Communications.
Jody, you want to introduce yourself? Mr. Chairman, I think that's it. Okay. Do we have any online?
Yes, if you're, there's a Terry online, there's,
Well,
but we didn't introduce these two over here. Terry and Lisa.
Terry Gould, Deputy Director of Planning and Investment. Lisa Wilson, Deputy Director, Engineering and Operations.
Let's see, anyone from UDOT online that you would like to chime in, please?
Rob White, Region 1 Director.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, don't be shy. Now we also want to introduce our fellow you can say hello, if not, we'll just see. Yes, I can say it's mentioned by name.
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Okay, official report is Ivan Guerrero, so we have to call Ivan, please.
Mr. Chairman, did you just introduce me? Is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you. I'm having a little trouble hearing on my end. Hopefully you can hear me clearly. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman. I'm Ivan Marrero, Division Administrator for the Federal Highway Administration Office here in Utah. And thank you again for giving me a few minutes to speak to the Commissioner this morning. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry I couldn't join you in person. We're still under restrictions here on the federal side, so I think we're pretty close to being allowed to go out and meet people. But for the meantime, we're still not allowed to leave our offices or our homes, I guess. So we're looking forward to someday being able to join you there. And I do want to express my gratitude to Commissioner Barlow for his exemplary service to the people of Utah. It's been a pleasure working with you all these years, and the people of Utah should be very proud of all you've done for them. Thank you, sir. And finally, I want to report that Brigitte Mandel, my deputy, has returned from her 90-day assignment. So that's excellent news for me and for all of you too. So I'm sure she's on the call here. So welcome back, Brigitte. Good to have you back. And I will now attempt to show my slides, so hopefully everything works okay here. Let me just window. Okay, let me try that. This one, here we go. Share. Okay, so from the federal highway side, let's see. There we go. Is that visible? Okay. Okay, excellent. So just a couple of small items to present to you this morning. First of all, I want to just let you know that UTA has been awarded a $1 million grant under our AID demonstration awards program. Basically, it's AID stands for Accelerated Innovation Deployment. It's a program that we've set up. It's been around for a few years now, and basically, it's sort of like use as seed money to encourage innovative practices in the state. So this $1 million will be used by UTA for the 3D modeling software, e-construction, drones, and other innovative technologies for project delivery. So congratulations to UTA. I know the money will be well spent. Other states, I think we were awarded $5.6 million this year, and the other states receiving the grant include Alabama, Arizona, Michigan, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and South Dakota. So it's been a very, very popular program. We've issued about $86 million since 2014 to 117 different grants. The second thing I wanted to announce is this is a kind of it's an optional program. We have this flexibility. It's called the Enhancing Highway Workforce Development Opportunities Contracting Initiative. So basically, it's a program that allows states or recipients of federal funds to utilize some innovative contracting practices to encourage participation by low-income communities into our construction industry. The goal is to increase workforce opportunities in the construction industry. So this is an optional program, and should UTA decide to pursue it, they would submit an application to us, and we would evaluate it and decide. There's more information on this on the Federal Register, so there's the link down there if anybody's interested. But again, it's just it allows us to exercise some flexibility and allow different contracting approaches that normally would not be allowed under the regular federal aid program. And lastly, there's another funding opportunity. This is called the Advanced Transportation and Congestion Management Technologies Deployment Grant Program. And we just published the Notice of Funding Opportunity on August 23rd. I'm sorry. Yeah, we just published it on June 22nd, and the applications are due by August 23rd. And this is another program that is, funds innovative approaches to funds. In the past, we've used it to fund intelligent transportation system technologies and autonomous and connected vehicle technology. So UTA did receive a grant under this program last year for $5.4 million for their Utah Broadly Connected program. We do hope that they would try to take advantage of this grant again and apply again. And again, this is all open to not just state DOTs, but local governments, political subdivisions, transit agencies, the NPOs, and even the research and academic institutions. So again, the application deadline is August 23rd. And that is all I have for the commission this morning. I'd like to, if there are any questions, we got to answer any questions.
Good job as usual, Ivan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, Commissioner.
And Regine, welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's good to see all your smiling faces. I missed you guys a lot. So thank you.
Thank you for being involved. Thank you.
It was virtual, so I never actually left, but
I did not work. UDOT grant update and review. Well, Heather's trying to fix that system up. Just remember that we have a wedding, receptions, funerals, and there's no longer the catering on the side. Excellent, excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. This item is to do a UDOT grant update today. So I'm going to navigate from the UDOT website to the Transportation Commission page. And at the bottom, close it. I got to share my screen. Sorry. Go to the other.
So the issue is kind of like a whole.
Told me I wouldn't do this. Okay, let's back up. UDOT homepage, under the Transportation Commission link, and at the bottom, we have our grant information. So today I'm just going to cover 3 items. The first item is the aid grant that Ivan Marrero just mentioned. He did a great job of talking about the purpose of that grant. It's related to digital construction and data capture. So I won't add on that unless there are any questions. The only thing I would add is that as far as the grant match for this is one that UDOT asked the commission for contingent approval in February of 2020. So this one's been around for a little while. So that approval was granted in February of 2020, and now the project delivery or project development team is ready to move forward on that one. So it's always great to get the grant award and be ready to move forward. The second grant is just a status update on the infra grant. We talked about this one before, but this is a pedestrian crossing of I-80 at 56 West. And so that the status of that one is just pending. So we submitted that one and are waiting to hear. They typically take anywhere from 3 to 6 months plus to hear back on those types of grants. And then the last grant is UDOT is partnering with UTA on a grant application development for the RAISE grant program, which that's formerly what was called BUILD grants. And this is for a 5600 West express bus project that's related. It's got some relation to the Mountain View corridor as an integrated transportation system with the Mountain View corridor. So our team is working with UTA on that application development as of right now, and that the deadline is in later in July on that one. So are there any questions on any of these 3 grant items for today?
Ben, excellent. May I just ask, is the express bus, this may be for Ms. Holbrook, but is that the same as the BRT? That's the same kind of idea? Express bus, same classification, Ben? I apologize, Eddie. It still feels like a pretty informal despite.
I know, that's why I was like. Good morning, that's an excellent question, and an express bus is not exactly like BRT. The fundamental difference between a bus rapid transit and an express bus is that a bus rapid transit has dedicated lanes in either all of it or some portions of it. But the concept is very similar in the sense that you are trying to move quickly through it, but that's the key difference between those two. And the express bus is designed to really just function in the peak hours of utilization. It does have other frequency, but it's not as, usually it's designed, and I know this is what you guys are very accustomed to, back when you're dealing with traffic, it's just designed for that morning and afternoon rush hour.
May I say what a pleasure it is to have Trustee Holbrook here, because most of my friends think I work for the bus people, so it's nice to have that information so I can answer that better.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for me?
Just had a request to increase the size on the screen, so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Item agenda, let's see, item 4 in the agenda is UDOT scoreboards and Chris Peterson and Troy Peterson. Oh.
Not today.
Comment.
18.
Even better.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to present today. It's nice to be back here and see you all in person. So I know that Chris Peterson was a little disappointed knowing how much he's worked with Commissioner Barlow over the years. So I just feel fortunate. So here we go. We're going to start today with the project development update. Looking at our project delivery status. You know, this is live data, so you can see that it constantly changes. We have 2 more projects to advertise within the next 60 days. And you can see our program, you know, within the next couple months, there's probably another 117. We're doing very well. We have 4 past due projects, and those are really due to third-party reviews and some agreements that need to be in place from either a local agency or a different division. So I think, you know, we're doing really well in getting our projects out. Moving on to the advertising performance, our goal of 85, you can see that we're hitting that right now at 93%. We've advertised 120 projects, just, you know, almost $1.3 billion. This is pretty standard for us, 120 to 150 within a fiscal year. So I think we're right in line with what our program typically looks like. So, and this is the total cost estimates for the projects that we've delivered in the last month. So this would be in May. And you can see the size of the program between the project value of about 24 million. And our estimates are really coming in about 24 million as well. So you can see they're pretty aligned in what the program looks like. This will be looking at our advertising status. And again, you can see the trends. It's pretty standard for us. Looking at June and July, the program kind of goes down. And then we're working, and you can see come October, November, we will be delivering a lot of projects from scoping that we're looking at now. So this is really the kind of trend that you can kind of see that we go through every year. Moving on to project counts and where we are in construction. We have 179 projects in construction at this point. You can see on the graph here. And we are about 1.6 billion that we've already paid out, with another probably 1 billion contract remaining. And to the contractor payments, again, I kind of pointed out the trends that we go through on a yearly basis, and you can see we're probably right in line with that in the contractor payments. You'll notice that come July, August, you'll be seeing a lot more contractor payments come in as we just do more work in the summer season. And that's really what I have to present today. I'm welcome to take any questions on the program.
Carmen,
Yes.
would it be fair to say that any delays due to COVID are pretty much in the rearview mirror now?
Yep. So just to update on the force majeure situation, projects that have claimed that force majeure under the blanket statement, still have the time extensions, but costs are not incurred. Costs are not part of the force majeure. So we have terminated the blanket force majeure coverage for the COVID, and that ends on July 6th. And after that, projects can't claim a force majeure based on a COVID situation or whatever the situation would be, but it's very project specific at that point, and it's not a blanket covered on all projects direction,
Thank you.
of course.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's see here. Okay. It's right there. As a reminder, let me show something real quick. As a reminder how to get to the strategic direction. It's on our homepage. You scroll down here. On the front homepage, just scroll down a little bit. There's a tab here called strategic direction. That's where we'll spend today talking about our zero fatalities, looking at our fatalities, serious injuries, and our traffic crash numbers. So that'll step over here to zero fatalities. And right now, our fatality rate is at 0.82. Remember, in 2020, ours 0.96. One thing I want to focus on there, take a look at, is just kind of a reminder, our target line for our performance measures as it relates to the zero fatalities is a 3-year average, and we try to reduce that by 2.5%. Now, talking about that target, that number is not something that we're excited about one way or the other. We definitely want to lower that, but that number still represents impacted families, lives, and people who have been severely impacted. So we had always set these targets. We definitely want to see those much lower than that, but we're at. And looking at our fatalities today, we're our target for this time of year is 105, and we're definitely way above that number, as you can see, sitting at about 139. That number itself is a lot higher than we've seen you may have seen some reports John Gleason put out that in the last decade that we haven't experienced numbers this high. So moving on to suspected serious traffic injuries, trending on the higher side of our target as well. This is something we saw as a trend in 2020. Hoping that we'll correct that as time moves on here. And then moving into our traffic crashes, we have we're starting to see an uptick in the number of crashes as it relates to seeing more vehicles on the roadway. One thing I'd like to mention, though, I skipped over, and I apologize for that, is on the fatalities. We do have 139, and I always like to mention the vulnerable user category, just as something to keep in our minds, is there are other users on the roadway, not just people driving. We've had 15 motorcyclists, 18 pedestrians, and 2 bicyclists that are fatalities that comprise that number. Much too high. With that, I do want to step into talk about a little bit of some results of some things we're doing on a positive side, trying to get a see if I got this presented. Hopefully everybody can see that. Some nods so everybody can see that. Okay. We did a study. Our traffic safety group has done a study and to look at a way to try to categorize or set a benchmark on distracted driving. And this study that we did is something unique in the fact that we had 32 different locations where we set up some opportunities to monitor traffic and really look in and see if we can get an idea of what kind of distractions are out there, so we can focus our efforts on the education side of how to improve those numbers and bring those down and have people less distracted as they're driving. Having said that, we had, like I said, 32 different locations, and those locations were spread out across the state. places like I-15 up here, and Salt St. George, we have some locations set up, Redwood Road, Negative Highway. You see this map, it's kind of hard to see on this bigger map, you can see there's little stars, location where we'd set that up. And like I said, this study's helped us benchmark where we are and how we can focus our efforts moving forward. One of the things that we found, we had about 5,000, just short of 5,000 observations that we were able to utilize in this study. And what we found is about 15.7% of all, nearly 16% of the drivers in that study were distracted. And one of the things we did is, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner here, is we classified those distractions in a number of things, everything from manipulating something in the car, being attention to something outside of the vehicle, texting, smoking, grooming, reading, watching TV or something on their iPad or on their phone. Just a number of items that were observations that we classified. And you can see that the biggest distraction that we were documenting was the external distraction, something going on outside the vehicle that took the attention of the driver off of the roadway and what they were looking for, as well as obviously other occupants in the vehicle with them and manipulating something in the car, or some of the larger ones. Obviously, texting and driving is another one that is of concern to us. The other thing that we found in this is that the average distraction was about 2.25 seconds. And you'll see in the bottom right corner here, we've got, just to kind of give you a perspective of what that distance is. If you're on the freeway, it's roughly 15 cars or 2/3 of a football field. And if you're on a surface street, it's roughly a little over a swimming pool or 1.5 semi-trucks. So definitely wanted to point that out. Also, in this, we found the top freeway distractions was manipulating something in the vehicle. On a surface street, it was actually external distraction that was our biggest distraction. And one thing we did find out is drivers on highways are 36% less likely to be distracted than drivers on surface streets, and that our younger drivers were most significantly more prone to being distracted than our older drivers. And so one of the things that's great about this study is that we'll be able to repeat this study. So we'll go out again in the fall and see how things are going, be able to see how our efforts in education and side of things and campaigns that our Zero Fatalities are going through to help remind people to put their phone down and, to drive alert. See how that compares year after year, if we're making an impact on those particular items or not. That's all I really have for today, but I just like to remind everyone, as I do each week, each time we meet, is practice those five safe driving behaviors, which are to wear a seatbelt, drive alert, focused, calm, sober.
So these locations where you had the cameras, I assume these are really high resolution cameras that can zoom in to see what's going on in the vehicle.
Correct.
Big Brother's watching.
No. One thing I'd like to stress is there was absolutely no personal identifiable information, I get that right, PII, collected from this study. The only thing we were looking at was the characteristics of what that individual behind the bill was doing.
Yeah. This is really useful and relevant, and it's just kind of disgusting, frankly, as I drive by and see people doing these crazy things. I'm just thinking, this is the most dangerous thing we do every day. I mean, we worry about COVID. This is absolutely, and I'm sure it's similar everywhere else in the country. Already worse and better, but thanks for doing this. I don't know how else I can support it, but just other than talking to my children, my grandchildren, but boy, we have got to do better. This is awful.
That's the best place to start right there.
Yeah. Of course, I'll probably take this phone call while we're driving. Oh, well, very helpful.
Quick question, I saw it on the slide, but it's not there. Remind me the number of observations, it was a lot. It's on the slide earlier.
So we had 4,869, just shy of 5,000.
Yeah, okay. And then, do you mind repeating one more time the advice the council you give?
So the 5 safe driving behaviors are wear a seatbelt, drive alert, focused, calm, and sober.
It's pretty good life counsel generally.
Just comments. Yesterday, we were driving on that heavy rain. I counted about 25 unruly drivers speeding and trying to pass the others. And one particular location was just a semi, three candidates semi, and this car just tried to pass and just started weaving on the rain. That the heat would drive me crazy, but this community has some crazy drivers. I'm sorry to say that.
Commissioner Barlow and I are both wearing the same badge that says, "Don't drive stupid." I just really believe that. I don't know if anyone else has one of these, but Wayne and I try and follow that rule.
They didn't let some of us have that badge, but that's just.
There's a reason.
There's a reason.
You can't play the guitar while you're driving, you know?
I promise that's one thing I've never attempted.
But I have seen this, observed just on my own driving, looking across and somebody just thinking, this is stupid. So we've got to do better. So thank you for your leadership.
A little thing I've tried to start doing, because I have, you just put the phone in the console or close it or put it away so it's not there, because out of habit you want to look. So I just found that something helps me. It's just to hide it, just not even have it close. So I'm tempted to even look at it.
Item number 5 on your agenda is public comments. As of this morning, we have one comments. And I'm just going to read that.
This comment was received from George Chapman on today or yesterday, June 24th. Projects that I am concerned about and the obvious questions regarding are: I am against money for 21st South SLC pedestrian improvements, which could be used for a road diet on a 22,000 ADT road, which would significantly increase pollution. Project 15908. I'm against spending almost $4 million for Westside SLC, since the area desperately needs more bus service, not buildings. I remind the Transportation Commission that the Ogden and Provo BRTs are free for East Side riders in new buses, while the West Side bus riders in SLC, Ogden, and Provo ride in much older, noisier, and $2.50 a ride buses. The inequity should be obvious. Project 17850. I am against spending $13 million of valuable transit funds on the Sandy transit-oriented development at 1000 South Tracks Station. I am against spending over $4 million on the new project, South Davis Connector Study. Regular enhanced buses like 5600 West would be much more fiscally responsible. I am against 14044 Clayton Frontrunner Station Park over $4 million, since the parking is needed because UTA gave a developer property from the parking lot. The developer should pay for more parking. I am against restarting the 35 Max, since it was never successful. Project 14046 Max expansion and optimization. It got at most 3,200 riders a day while removing 2 traffic lanes that could handle 20,000 riders a day in cars. Pollution increases should not be funded. I am against the 200 South Transit Hub, since there are no real cross transit buses. $2 million can surely be better spent. There should not be a need for a hub unless there are transfers. I am against new project 18828 bus rapid transit operating subsidy, since it is inequitable and borders on racism noted above. Minority riders on the west side of Ogden have to pay $2.50, but BRT East Side students, mainly white, get free rides. I am against project 15927 transit stop improvements, since buses are ordered to stay 1 to 4 feet from curbs.
Was Mr. Kaplan in favor of anything?
That was was not included in the email if he is.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chapman. So noted. Item number 6 on your agenda is.
I think we have one comment.
Thank you. Good morning, Andreas Riesman, Professor Barrett at Utah State University. I'm part of the Utah Aviation Education Association, and I represent a new organization that we created this year called the Utah Aviation Coalition. This coalition is a group of aviation associations, clubs, educational entities, and other interested general aviation organizations in the state of Utah that have banded together to advocate for general aviation interests throughout the state. The coalition currently consists of the following organizations: the Utah Business Aviation Association, the Utah Airport Operators Association, Utah Backcountry Pilots, Utah General Aviation Association, Utah Aviation Educators Association, AVUSI, which is the Unmanned Vehicle Systems International, Utah chapter, Mountain West Unmanned Systems Alliance, the Utah Wing of the Civil Air Patrol, the Air Force Auxiliary, and the Experimental Aircraft Association. I'm not sure if you realize how many aviation organizations are in the state of Utah. We're also reaching out to the glider and the ballooning associations to see if they want to join this group, so we can have a combined voice in the state of Utah for general aviation. The Aviation Coalition has met this last year with Jared Esselman, the Director of Aeronautics, on a quarterly basis, and we've been able to review and discuss the budget, airport maintenance projects that are currently planned or under discussion, as well as any other aviation issues within the state. We appreciate the engagement and the transparency, especially in this public process, to make sure that our voices as aviation is heard here at this commission as well. We've reviewed the STIP, the Airport Capital Improvement Plan. And so we've been able to look at the different projects, and we are excited to see them coming out to the state of Utah. As you know, there's 46 airports in the state of Utah and over 2,000 aircraft registered. And there's a lot of folks that come from all over the country to the state of Utah through our airports. And a lot of them are not through Salt Lake International, but they're in the general airports. And so it provides tourism, it provides transportation, it supports businesses. And we are very excited to be part of this process to make sure that we can support general aviation in the state of Utah. Okay.
Good job, Jared. Any questions?
Where's that headquartered, Professor? At Utah State? Sorry.
So,
come on up, yeah.
The Utah Aviation Coalition, because it's a new group, we just meet virtually, and we've been meeting at the Director of Aeronautics office here at the Salt Lake Airport. So we just started this spring to officially get together. So all the presidents of these organizations have been coming together for about the last year, meeting quarterly, as part of an effort to make sure that our voices are heard and to combine our voices together. So we're still looking at whether we're going to be more formalized as a nonprofit, or we're just, right now we're just a coalition of voices in the state of Utah to make sure we can be heard. But for example, there's 4 universities that have aviation programs. All the airport owners get together for a conference every year. The backcountry pilots, they have a very active Facebook program to make sure they can support all the backcountry airports and educate and train people in mountain flying, unimproved landings. So there's a good outreach effort in the state of Utah for general aviation.
That's excellent. Congratulations. Appreciate Jared's leadership on it too. And are drones involved in this somehow?
Absolutely. So there's 2 major organizations, the AVUSI, the Unmanned Vehicle Systems International, and Mountain West Unmanned Systems Alliance. At the Utah State University, we just started a bachelor's degree in drones, the first of its kind in the state of Utah and in the region. And we have a first graduate, and he has a job, so we're 100% employment for our graduates, which is pretty exciting. Aggie Air has been doing research for over 15 years, and they were the first and only university to do a beyond visual line of sight practice with the FAA. So we've been heavily involved with the FAA for unmanned aerial systems in the state of Utah. We're doing summer camps and outreach with Aggie Drone Academy all across the state. Right now in Price, they're going out to different high schools. And concurrent enrollment started this year with Utah State University. So drones is going to be a big part of education, as well as emergency services with Civil Air Patrol, bridge inspections, commercial operators, and future urban mobility is going to be a big part of what we're looking at. So we want to make sure that as a state of Utah, we're on the map.
Well, we're fortunate to have you do that. We are a big state. We need big dreams and big plans. So.
No,
Thanks, Professor.
That's right. Thank you. And just, if anybody has any questions about drones or about aviation, I'll be more than happy to stick around and talk, because we can be there to help support everything from bridge inspections, roof inspections, project construction. We've done some different surveys for folks, and so it's a way for aviation to support the state of Utah as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Always interesting on these meetings.
Okay, item number 6 on your agenda is consent agenda. Is this portion will be presented by item?
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. First item on our consent item, agenda 6, included in the packet, includes the May 21st, 2021 commission meeting and a list of projects that have, and the project list of projects that have been awarded, identified the budget amounts that can be recovered, are in a closeout process and have funding available to remove and reprogram. First in the packet includes the commission meetings from the May meeting. Here are the different items that were discussed, reviewed, and approved. Our last the list of projects include 4 projects in either the adjust to award, budget recovery, or project closeout status. Back to our fact sheet. Our request today is a motion to approve the adjustments to the projects in the included table and approve the May 21st, 2021 commission meetings minutes as detailed.
Marlon moves for approval.
Evans, all second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussions, questions, comments? Donna, from you two, you're included, Donna.
I know.
Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Again, thank you, Heather, for the detailed organization of your skills. I'm glad this minutes everybody, because I have to like to see what we need to discuss, what public question, acknowledge, go back and discussion. So that item is approved. You can consider those, right?
Please.
Go ahead.
The next item, Series 778-1, is the US 89 Farmington to I-84. It's a funding addition from the Transportation Investment Fund. Converting US 89 in Davis County to a 6-lane freeway has brought with it several unexpected challenges in regards to utilities, third-party inspection, and right-of-way. The project team has been faced with relocating 150 miles of utilities, the precise locations of which have required redesign and workarounds. Utility companies have done the best they can to meet the schedule, but with weather events and COVID, resources have been stretched thin. As design was finalized, additional property was needed to avoid leaving property owners with odd-shaped, unusable parcels, poor access, or with roadways on all sides. In order to award the construction contract, the project's contingency balance was dropped to 1%. After working to address many of these related challenges, the project is requesting to add funding that can be used to manage current and future unanticipated cost increases. Shown here on our map. Our request today is a motion to add funds to the US 89 Farmington to I-84 project as detailed.
Marlon moves for approval.
I second that, Mr. Chairman, with the notation that, utilities are always going to be unexpected, those kind of problems. And one of the challenges we have as UDOT, as a commission, is running into problems with neighbors and other things. So clearly we need to do this, but it's part of the challenges that are going to come with every kind of project. We know that. So I'm supportive of it, but I do appreciate the challenges.
So, Hans, can you elaborate about the nature of those utility lines, what kind of utilities are involved, or like the 50 miles?
Yes, he dressed up today.
We have Mike Romero, he's going to come up and talk to us through this.
So, thank you, Commissioner, for that question. I'm trying to remember to speak slowly. We've encountered quite a few different.
Introduce yourself with the record, please.
Oh, I apologize. Mike Romero, the US 89 Project Director. We've encountered all types of utilities. We have telecommunications, we have petroleum pipelines, we have distribution lines for gas, water, sewer. And part of the challenge that we've encountered along the corridor is the aging infrastructure for these utilities. They're built back in the 30s, the 40s, and 50s. Having that information carried forward to today, we've done the best job we can to go and identify those utilities. But some of the municipalities can't even tell us what their systems are. They know how it operates and what valves to turn, but we go and we dig a hole and we find that's not the type of pipe that they thought they had in there. We need to increase or expand the utility relocation work as well. So it's kind of like put together a puzzle. We go out and get as much of the information as you can to the best of our abilities, and we start working outside of those city locations. We're finding new guys.
So if these third parties do not accept the upgrades because they don't have the budget or they don't want to, what do we do? We should proceed with what we have forward.
So what we've done is we have a lot of third parties, like private companies, Dominion, Rocky Mountain Power, those types of facilities, and we have a lot of city utilities as well. So we have a pretty good mix. We've worked with the third party and private companies to figure out the best solution that we can, and we've actually kept some utilities in place because their upgrades are quite extensive, and so we're able to work around some design side to keep them in place, protect them there. The petroleum pipeline is a good example of that. It runs along the corridor, it's approximately 10 miles long. The pipeline runs the entire length of the corridor, and we work with them through the design side to minimize the relocations on that pipeline to a couple thousand feet versus 9 to 10 miles.
Any other questions for Mike?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. So we can motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Doctor. Item 7A-1 is approved.
Thank you. 7A-2 is the Park Lane pedestrian bridges to I-15 Shepherd Lane interchange project. It's a funding transfer between these two projects. Pedestrian access along the Park Lane bridges, which consists of crossing the UPRR tracks, I-15, US 89, has been a growing safety concern in this area, as this area has seen a dramatic economic growth over the last 20 years. With community and regional trails on both sides, the front runner station on the west side of I-15 and Lagoon on the east side of US 89, along with residents and commercial property on both sides of I-15, having a safe way for pedestrians and cyclists to cross this critical transportation corridor is important. A shared use path along the Park Lane interchanges, as well as a box culvert under the busy 7-lane facility, was identified during the West Davis environmental study. This project will increase safety to both the driving public as well as the pedestrian and bicycling community by building a pedestrian facility to help connect this community. It is expected that by transferring the scope and funding up to the to the I-15 Shepherd Lane project, the advertising for this work will provide a better bidding package. So included, we have a map that details out what this will look like. And our request today is a motion to add funds to the US 89 Farmington to I-84 project as detailed.
Ms. Goffner, motion to approve?
A second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other further questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item 7A-2 is approved.
Thank you. 7A3 is the Ogden WSU Bus Rapid Transit. It's a funding addition from Federal Transit Administration funds. The Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT, combines the capacity and speed of light rail with the lower cost construction of an integrated bus system. Once complete, the Ogden WSU BRT, formerly Route 603, will provide riders an electric bus from the Ogden Frontrunner Station through downtown Ogden and then along a dedicated bus lane in the center of the road on Harrison Boulevard and through the Weber State University campus and to the McKay-D Hospital. Riders will be able to catch the bus every 10 to 15 minutes on weekdays and 15 to 30 minutes on weekends. The project will benefit the community by reducing vehicle trips, supporting the economy, and providing transportation choices. The additional funding is necessary due to project cost increase and escalating costs of materials. The additional funding is made available through an increase of 5309 small start funds from the Federal Transit Administration, or FDA. This item was approved by the Transportation Coordination Committee meeting from Wasatch Front Regional Council on June 17, 2021. Included is a BRT route map and key destinations. Our request today is a motion to add funds to the Ogden WSU Bus Rapid Transit Project as detailed.
Marlon moves for approval.
Second, great idea.
Motion is second. Any further questions? Comments? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'll ask a question now on the motion, but on that concept. Can you remind me how far that can go, the electric, and how that one's charged? Is that charged by pads that are on the ground that they go, like some do it to you, or they don't? I'm just curious.
I'll phone a friend on this.
Thank you. I was curious on that one, how that one would stay. I like the electric, but how does it keep charged so it can keep working?
Great question, Commissioner. For the record, Beth Holbrook, Utah Transit Authority trustee. And the question about the electric bus portion, so interestingly enough, the technology for the underground charging is being looked at, and the scale of it is not quite ready for the size of the BRT at this stage. However, part of this project includes an overnight charging station being built at our facilities, our bus facilities there. And then we'll have a fast charger at our Frontrunner Station, and then a fast charger at McKay-D, the D Event Center. And we're actually going to create a transit hub there as well, so that it can be integrated with our other buses moving forward. We're excited that it's electric, and we would love to take advantage of that level of technology. It's just not scaled up at this stage.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I'm just wondering
Yeah.
how we'll keep it charged.
Yeah, and so it takes about 5 minutes of charge on the rapid transit to get about an hour's worth of transit movement on the vehicle.
And so while they're loading, you get 5 minutes to charge.
Correct. In fact, that's kind of the process that we do. Today we have 3 electric buses that run to the University of Utah, and that's exactly how they work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Is the meeting motion?
No, I think you guys already voted.
Yeah, we voted on that. I just had a question. I should have.
So it's already done.
I had a question after, sorry.
Item 7A-3 is approved. Thank you.
7A4 is the UTA contactless payment project. This is a new project funded through Federal Transit Administration. On January 19th, 2021, the Federal Transit Administration announced that 37 projects in 35 states and 1 territory would receive a share of approximately $15.8 million in funding to support strategies that develop, deploy, and demonstrate solutions that improve the operational efficiencies of transit agencies and enhance rider mobility during the COVID-19 public health emergency. The Utah Transit Authority, UTA, will receive funding to expand its contactless payment software to include e-vouchers that will allow contactless payments with UTA mobile fares as well as transportation network companies. The project will also add a rider web portal and mobile app, providing more options for trip planning. This item was also approved by the Transportation Coordination Committee meeting from Wasatch Front Regional Council on June 17th, 2021. Our request today is a motion to add the UTA contactless payments project to the current STIP as detailed.
Mrs. Evans, I move for approval.
Thank you.
Law second.
Thank you. Any questions? We have trustees, you can answer the question if you have it. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-4 is approved. Thank you.
7A5 is the Northwest Quadrant Rail Project. This is a new project. In November of 2017, UDOT submitted an Infrastructure for Rebuilding America, or INFRA, discretionary grant application to the US DOT and was awarded a $25 million grant. Part of the grant was for the Salt Lake, Garfield, and Western Railway Company, or SLGW, and the Federal Rail Administration, FRA, the Northwest Quadrant West Interchange Project. The balance of the grant was for the US SR 172 5600 West Railroad Crossing project that is currently underway. The scope of this project is to make a new connection from the existing SLGW short line to Union Pacific's main line. SLGW is considering 3 options for this connection, as shown on the attached map. SLGW will be responsible for the design and construction of the project according to the grant requirements. As the grantee, UDOT is responsible for administering the pass-through funds. This includes approving invoices submitted by SLGW, ensuring compliance with grant requirements, and requesting reimbursement from FRA. Shown here in our map is the 3 different options, options A, B, and C. And the request today is a motion for approval to add the Northwest Quadrant West Rail Project to the current STIP as detailed.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Well, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussions? Concerns?
I just wanted to hear a comment on this, vis-a-vis the inland port, if this is directly related, indirectly related.
We have John Thomas. I believe he is online, as well as Patriot Rail. Patriot Rail just purchased Salt Lake, Garfield Western, and they're online. And I will let
That Commissioner Governor, I will say that we applied for this grant before the inland port was created. The intent behind this was to allow unit trains to be available, so much larger freight rail to be able to be assembled on the short line and connect in with the main line. But I'm sure the rail
And
folks.
along that, fair to say that these types of improvements significantly enhance our ability to service the economy. I have what I need on that.
But do we want to hear from?
Respond to it. What I interpret there is that this is part of our long-term infrastructure planning with or without an inland port.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, do you want to hear from the
If you
Patriot
have
Rail or the
any
project
questions,
manager?
go ahead. If you have somebody online, we'd love to hear from.
saw them log in earlier, so they must not.
Okay.
Somebody just raised their
Don
hand.
just raised his hand.
Yes, hello, this is Don Itzkoff. I am Chief Policy Officer with Patriot Rail, and we are very pleased to be here. We are the new owners of the Salt Lake, Garfield, and Western Railway, just effective at the start of this year. Patriot is a operator of short lines in 13 states across the country. We also operate the Utah Central Railway in Ogden. We're very pleased to be part of the Salt Lake growth community. This project is a significant investment to first relieve congestion in the Poplar neighborhood where we currently operate our interchange and would eliminate our interference with 6 grade crossings in that community. We would then be able, through this new interchange, to have all of these new unit train construction in a much longer dimension, up to 100 cars approximately, without any interference with grade crossing. So remove all of the all of the emissions impact and noise from the community and dramatically enhance safety. This is consistent with the Utah Inland Port Authority vision for enhancing freight rail as an opportunity for future growth. And we have been in close touch with the Inland Port Authority, but this project is not a Inland Port Authority initiative. We very much look forward to moving ahead. There are no UDOT funds associated. The match will be entirely provided by Patriot. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Don. Any other questions, comments?
Just simply like to say, it'd be nice to have the ongoing progress report of how this does go. There's always, when Union Pacific's involved, it's always interesting. Good luck.
This is interchange with the Union Pacific. So again, the Salt Lake, Garfield, and Western is a short line railroad. We operate as a traffic aggregator, serving both the Union Pacific and the BNSF. This would enable a new connection to the Union Pacific, a site that does not require the grade crossing interference that we currently have. So this will be additive in our ability to facilitate more freight rail options for Salt Lake region shippers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor of this project, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item 7A-5 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to 7A-6, the SR 201 Drainage and Pavement Improvements Project. This is a new project funded by the Transportation Solutions Program. SR 201 from milepost 0.8 to 1.1 has experienced a degradation of the pavement section due to water seeping into the subgrade. The project will add several cross culverts to allow the water to drain and avoid any future ponding. The roadway will also be constructed by milling off 7 inches of pavement and replacing with 7 inches of new asphalt. This project would be funded with available balance from the Transportation Solutions Program. Located here on our map, near the Lake Point Junction on 201, and some pictures that show the ponding issues that the section is experiencing. And the impact that it has on the pavement. Our request today is a motion to add the SR 201 Drainage and Pavement Improvements Project to the current STIP as detailed.
Yes.
Doctor will make that motion with the idea that if we build it, the rain will come.
Second that.
Thank you. Any questions on this particular project?
I have just a question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, please, Nadia.
And Nagi, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. Is this a new problem, or is this something that has just continued to happen and happen and happen, and we now have the means whereby to fix it?
We have Region 2, Brad Palmer, the program manager. He's going to come and be able to talk through that.
All of you coming to the podium, please raise your voice a little bit extra notch so we can have one people hold the branch. Go ahead, please, Brad.
Thank you.
This is a problem. Brad Palmer, Region 2 Program Manager. This is a problem that's it's been popping up sporadically along the 201 section in front of the Kennecott area over the past probably 12 months. We actually did a similar project last summer further to the east where we had almost the exact same situation. The problem is this water historically hasn't been this high, and we're not quite sure why it's raising. We're investigating now through our maintenance folks. We're working to try to figure out what's causing it. But what's happening when the roadway was originally built, they didn't have a lot of cross drains to relieve the water on the south side of the roadway. And so with this water raising now, not knowing where it's coming from, we just need to get those crossovers in to let it pass. The roadway is basically acting as a dam right now, and so it's the asphalt and causing those potholes. So we're doing some investigation. We're working with Kennecott, but we need to take care of this one, and we may have a future project again next year further to the east where we've seen similar actions, but it hasn't degraded quite as badly yet.
Did you hear that, Donna? You want to repeat it?
Yeah, no, thanks for that explanation. Interestingly, Nagi, you're the only one I can't hear. I can hear everybody else except for you. Thanks for that explanation, Brad.
Thank you.
Somebody fix my microphone, please.
And Commissioner Law, they are going to turn the microphone sensitivity up, so you'll be hearing loud and clear pretty soon, rather than you having to speak to the ceiling.
Thank you.
With that explanation, all in favor of this project, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item 7A-6 is approved.
Thank you. 7A7 is the I-80 Emory Interchange Bridge project. Is a funding addition from the structures funds. The scope of the Emory Interchange bridge project includes replacing the concrete bridge deck, substructure repairs, and repainting of steel girders. This rehabilitation treatment will add approximately 25 years of service life to the structure. Recent bids came in higher than estimated, and an additional $565,000 is needed to award the project. The increased bid response from the estimated amount was seen in the deck removal, structural concrete fiber, and traffic control. Located here on our map. We also have pictures of the bridge. Our request today is a motion to add funds to the I-80 Emory Interchange Bridge project as detailed.
Item, just 1 second, my screen went blank, so I need to have a little screen, just in case the voice is associated with that.
No, the voice is not associated with this. This is your camera.
So, I just want to make sure. I'm going home. I'm done.
Chairman, you can't continue, Mr. Chairman, because you can be heard.
Okay. I'll go and do that. Once you've spoken on that, so we need to have a motion of the second of this item number 7. So
I second.
Okay. Any questions, concerns, comments from any direction? Donna, can you still hear me?
I can.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, then, we're gonna vote on this item number 7. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7A-7 is approved.
Thank you. 7A-8, the SR 241, SR 114 Geneva Road to US 89. This is an abandoned project. The SR 241, SR 114 Geneva Road to US 89 project is a 2022 pavement preservation project that will preserve the pavement on 1600 North and Orem between Geneva Road and US 89. House Bill 433 from the 2021 Utah legislative session funded the reconstruction and widening of the same segment of roadway on 1600 North SR 241. Region 3 has evaluated the pavement condition of 1600 North and determined that the roadway will be able to maintain acceptable condition until the widening and reconstruction occurs under House Bill 433. Region 3 recommends abandoning the SR 241, SR 114 Geneva Road to US 89 pavement project in order to use the pavement funding in the most efficient manner possible. Shown here on our map on 1600 North. Our request today is a motion to abandon the SR 241, SR 114 Geneva Road to US 89 project as detailed.
So moved. Good reason, since it's going to be used with the other, I move for approval.
I'll second.
The motion and the second. Any questions, concerns, comments from everyone, anyone? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-8 is approved.
It's kind of refreshing to have that kind of practical approach to this. Applaud you for that. Don't need it, we'll put it where we do need it. Thank you. 7A-9 is the SR 115 and SR 75, two locations, Payson and Springville. It's a funding addition of a bridge rehabilitation project of structures funds $1.6 million. This project was created to perform rehabilitation treatments on these two structures located on SR 75 in Springville. As part of this project, structure 0C468 was scoped to receive structural pothole patching of the concrete deck, along with a new overlay wearing service. During construction, it was found that the existing concrete deck and reinforcing steel of structure 0C468 was in worse condition than originally anticipated. After reviewing several options, it was decided that a partial deck replacement be performed on the three spans over the railroad tracks. The project team is requesting this funding addition to allow the contractor on site to perform this additional work and properly address the deficiencies associated with this structure. Located here on our map, Springville, showing which structure we're talking about, and the pictures that they of the structure during the construction.
Okay.
Our request today is a motion to approve adding funds to the SR 115 and SR 75, two locations, Payson and Springville project as detailed.
Governor, make that motion.
Law second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussions? Questions? Comments? Seeing none, all in favor of item number 9, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-9 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. 7A-10, the US 189 University Avenue Viaduct Replacement Project. The University Avenue US 189 is the primary corridor connecting the Orem-Provo area to the Heber Valley. The roadway crosses over the Union Pacific Railroad in the area of 600 South in Provo. UTA's front runner line currently ends at this location. The viaduct bridge over the tracks was originally built in 1966 and has been rehabilitated several times during the past 50 years, including some emergency repairs that were completed in late 2020. Based on previous rehabilitation efforts and the findings of recent routine inspections, the structure has reached the end of its anticipated service life. UDOT Structures and Region 3 recommend replacement of the viaduct. Replacing the viaduct will provide a bridge that meets current design standards with a service life of approximately 75 years. The new structure will also have a wider typical section to address substandard geometry and active transportation. Maintaining this crossing is vital to the surrounding area and a key transportation facility for the traveling public. Located here on our map. And pictures of the viaduct now. Our request today is a motion to add the US 189 University Avenue Viaduct Replacement 0F84 project as detailed.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second Donna.
Okay.
The reason is, I mean, that's a lot of years. It's a lot of money, but it's a lot of years. So you got to keep that corridor open. That's a critical corridor.
What's the cost of the replacement?
49, was it?
49 million. And the funding for this project is coming from the CARES Act.
That's a long span application. How long is it going to take to replace that? How long do you manage the traffic?
Rob, would you like to address that?
It's likely that the, Rob Clayton, Region 3 Director, it's likely that the construction of this bridge will have to be done in phases in order to maintain traffic. We're in talks with Provo City as well about potential detours. We don't have all the details worked out, but one of the reasons that we want to start this project as soon as possible is the coordination that it's going to take with the Union Pacific Railroad. We're anticipating a lengthy discussion and period with them. So we'll have the details worked out for the traffic, the maintenance of traffic, and we're confident that we'll be able to accomplish it without too much inconvenience.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I can wait until you ask for comments. Sorry.
Go ahead, state your comments.
I just, as I read through this description, it reminded me very much of the project that's currently underway in Cedar City, and the invitation of Region 4. I was invited to go and watch them demolish one of our older bridges that also had a geographic misalignment. It's pretty exciting to watch old stuff come down. I guess I should say come down to make way for new, safer projects.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor of this project, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-10 is approved. Thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize Emily Niehaus from the MOAB as a mayor. Welcome, Mayor, and she's going to be on the standby in case we need a question to ask, because I don't know what it is about MOAB.
Thank you. Item 7A-11 is the Arches Area Recreational Hotspot Program. It's a $10 million program funding that we would like. Region 4 and UDOT collaborated with the Arches Hotspot Region Coordinating Committee to develop concepts for a suite of projects that will meet the needs of the communities and the criteria of the funding. Each proposed project will help reduce congestion, support economic development, and increase recreation and tourism opportunities in the Arches Moab area. The proposed projects include dispersed parking to be developed on local streets within the core of downtown Moab and in the northern business area off Emma Boulevard. This project will continue to record the previous expenditures incurred in the original parking structure project scope. Number 2, a shared use path along Spanish Valley Drive. This path will play a key role in connecting affordable housing areas in the northern Spanish Valley to the downtown business area of Moab. This will provide an alternative to motor vehicle traffic on US 191 and thereby reducing commuter traffic and improving the quality of life for residents and recreational opportunities for visitors. Number 3, a 5-year pilot transit program has been identified as a method to help mitigate congestion. This project will be a financial partnership between UDOT and the local community. This project will provide an alternative mode of transportation in the area while providing valuable insight into the future of transit in this part of the state. So shown here are the three different projects at the first parking in Moab, showing 9 street parking areas, plus the Emma Boulevard reconfigured, totaling 188 new parking stalls. Shown here on our map. An example of the dispersed street parking layout, what it would look like. Our Emma Boulevard dispersed parking area. The roadway paid for by Moab City and the parking areas paid for by UDOT. The Spanish Valley to Moab shared use path, shown here. The Grand County Moab Transit, showing the fixed route to be established in years 2 or 3. Exact routing, bus stop location, phasing, and frequency is to be determined. And the initial micro transit service area shown highlighted in orange. And discussing that, there's some key highlights, starting with micro transit service to understand demand and trip patterns. Add fixed route based on microtransit trip data and community feedback. Under a microtransit-based service, any 2 points could be combined within that zone. The vehicles are dynamically routed with the goal of maximizing shared rides. Once fixed route starts, microtransit would remain and it would cover all of Moab plus North hotels and Upper Spanish Valley areas. It would require 2 to 3 vehicles. It would operate 10 to 16 hours per service day, dependent on season and contractor bids, and the fixed route would likely be 4 to 5 miles in length one way. It is estimated 250 to 300 estimated riders per day. We also have included in our packet a resolution from the City of Moab and Grand County. Our request today is a motion to add the proposed project to the current STIP as detailed.
Before motion, may I just ask Rick or Ron, see if they have any kind of opportunity to talk to us in the background a little bit? This is Major undertaking, your discussion with the locals and what they have agreed to and what's going to be.
Yes, I'm Monty Aldridge, Region 4 Deputy Director. Thank you for the question, Chairman. This has been a great process we've been going through for a little over a year. I was looking back at my notes, and we organized the coordinating committee early in 2020. That followed the original project, as a lot of you know, was for a parking structure. Working with the community on that, there became a point in time where the parking structure wasn't the preferred alternative for the community. Even though we'd gone through a process of selecting that with the community, there became a point in time when it was the best thing to do to pivot off of that. And I appreciate the fact that we were able to work with the community to address their needs while simultaneously looking to meet the criteria of the funding. And so what that began was then the process of organizing another committee that was made up of both city and county elected officials, business community, and then UDOT, had several members of UDOT as advisors to the committee. And we worked through projects for, let's say, it started in early 2020. And so for about a year, we worked through alternatives and the various types of projects that we could entertain and what would meet the criteria, what would meet the needs of the community. And the result is this suite of projects. I'm very excited that we were able to find a way to bring transit in as one of the options. I do believe, as you're seeing in recreation communities and tourist communities around the Intermountain West specifically and around the country, that these transit options are starting to be very valuable in helping congestion. So we brought in most recently in the last since December, we've brought in a consultant, we've delved down into the details, more of the details of the transit to be able to understand and have confidence that we could push forward a project for a pilot project that should be, we believe should be successful. And also, it's been great that we've had the partnerships, 2 resolutions, resolution passed by the City Council and the similar resolution passed by Green County Commission to participate and fund this for a 5-year program.
Mayor, good morning. I see you smiling, so that is a good news or good sign for us. So please
Yeah.
share with you whatever you have to share with us before we ask questions.
I just want to say thank you. All right, so there might be an echo on my end. Thank you very much to the Transportation Commission. This was a pivot, and we were able to, as a community, come together and say, all right, we've got a new idea here, and I'm just so grateful to the commission to give us the flexibility to pivot. And I'm excited about each one of these projects. So thank you very much to all of you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else would like to offer any suggestions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask, what does it mean financial partnership with you guys? That may be part of it.
So financial, yes, great question. We've allocated $1.5 million from the Recreation hotspot funding that's being paid by UDOT. And then there's another $1 million being allocated or committed to various sources through the city and the county to complete the 5-year program. It's kind of on a graduated scale over 5 years, so that the UDOT participation reduces over time as the local participation increases.
Well, any of us have been there, just know how necessary this is. I don't know if taking 250 people a day or 350, is that sufficient to be really helpful? I mean, it sounds like it ought to be, but that number's surprised it's not higher given the density I've seen.
We're being kind of conservative on our projections, trying to make sure, I think, the fact that it's a transit pilot, we hope to, quite honestly, the desire is to form the foundation to be able to develop a more of a fixed route, typical traditional transit system that will then likely use the microtransit to supplement that with the paratransit needs in order to qualify for Federal Transit Authority funding. We're hopeful that those numbers will go up, but we believe that it should give us a good start into a transit program for the area.
Thank you.
What is your timeline, Monty?
I'm sorry, timeline? Making the assumption that we get approval today, we'll work with the Region 4 Program Manager, Kate Roberts, to assign the project manager, and we'll get kicked off as soon as possible. I actually have a meeting scheduled for Tuesday evening to start digging into the details of the transit as far as working with that. We already have a consultant that helped us do the study, is going to be on board for helping write the RFP. So we anticipate that to be a turnkey operation initially. And what I mean by that is that a contractor vendor would come in, and these happen around Western US. They would come in and they'd likely already have an application built, an app for the phones to be able to schedule microtransit, and they will run a turnkey operation for the first time frame of the pilot. And that's so starting, I guess you could say Tuesday. I have a meeting set for it.
Mayor, November 19, we're going to be in your community, so better get ready.
Oh, I'm excited to host you. That's exciting. We'll be ready.
So let me just clarify the design process. We do have preliminary design and conceptual design done, but there will be design process for each of these 3 projects. And so I'm not going to commit that we'll have anything on the ground by November 19th.
I will need that. Just want to make sure the main goals that we come to the city.
Absolutely.
Project ourselves, the site.
We should be well underway with our project by then.
Any other questions? Not, I call for the vote now.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, please, Donna.
Just a question. As the mayor referred to pivot, these 3 programs are the alternative to what was previously a parking structure.
That's correct.
Okay, and then microtransit would be defined as just a smaller transit system? Or is there something else special that defines microtransit?
Yes, microtransit is the ability to go, I'm sorry, was the question, would you like me to address that, Mayor, or would you like to? Okay. Yes, microtransit is how we believe we will initiate that, and that would involve probably 2 or 3 1250 passenger vans that will be scheduled via map, and they have the opportunity to consolidate rides. And, so if you jump on the app and you schedule a ride from within the service area, if somebody else schedules a ride, the van can stop and pick people up and deliver them to their destination. What we hope to gain from that, initiating that method, is that we can then learn about the needs for the transit and to develop the fixed route system. Ultimately, we would like to get to a fixed route that is supplemented by a microtransit as opposed to a microtransit that helps develop a fixed route. That makes sense.
That clarification is very helpful. Thank you.
Now we're ready to vote.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
As Monty stated, this has been kind of an evolving list of projects, and as these 3 projects were originally part of the hotspot program, we'd like to request or propose a change to our motion.
Okay, go ahead.
And our request is a motion to change the projects as detailed.
You made the motion, the detailed motion. Be ready for it, we haven't got it yet.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second, based on explanation which are for this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-11 is approved. Thank you. And thank you, Mayor, for being with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monty. Thank you.
Again, in the packet included is the resolution from the city and Marion County. Item number 7A-12 is the SR-14 Woods Ranch eastbound passing lane. It's a funding addition from the Transportation Solutions Funds. The scope of this project is to widen the roadway to accommodate an additional lane eastbound on SR-14 to provide passing opportunities. Just west of the start of the passing lane is a box culvert that is heavily damaged and in need of repair. Additionally, the box culvert openings are very close to the roadway, and pictures are included. This funding addition would change the scope of the original project to include repairing the box culvert and extending it in an additional 16 feet away from the roadway. Shown here on our map. See the project limits and the box culvert just outside the project limits. Pictures of the box culvert. Our request today is a motion to add funding to the SR-14 Woods Ranch eastbound passing lane as detailed.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Thank you. I drove on that road 2 weeks ago. I promise I didn't damage once. So I drove on it's needed project. Thank you that we had water in the corner. Still. Any questions, comments? Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, just one quick comment. This looks great. I'm excited to vote for it. I will say that sometimes I don't really know what I'm seeing. So like I look at this, I don't know that state route. I don't know if this is the one that connects with Bryan Head. I don't know what this Woods Ranch is. So it's just an observation that, I don't know, it's hard when you don't know where it is in relation to anything that means something to you.
This
Arches was easy, right?
Right.
Yeah, so
I can answer this question.
Is this the route,
Donna,
Brian?
you want to answer it? You want to answer? Donna, go ahead.
Well, yes, this is one that's near and dear to me because it's just as you leave Cedar City, Natalie, to go up to Bryan Head, that's Highway 14.
This is my point, in the sense that I've used that road a lot, and I know how important the passing lane is on that road. And just mentioning Bryan Head would have been helpful here, is my only point, to help us digest it easier. Something to think about where this is going and what it leads to.
And Commissioner, now that we're back, sorry, Mr. Chairman, now that we're back in person, our packages always include the state map.
Pull out your state
And
route.
so sometimes that helps me kind of figure out, because we are giving you a pinpoint.
Yeah.
And the point I'm hearing is we need to start more regionally.
Yeah, it's
So
just,
that
it's
everyone
just a
can kind of
comment, 'cause
tie it in
I
and
had a
then,
feeling this was Brian.
and then focus.
But I didn't know, and then I know how steep that road is and how intense the winters are, and then my boat has a lot more meaning to it.
Thank you for that meaningful vote, Natalie.
Great question. But then ask your question and to connect it from Main Street all the way to yes. I don't see so happy.
Did we vote?
Any more
Did we
questions?
vote on that? Did we vote on that?
Yes. Yeah, I was just gonna. So any other questions, comments, concerns? We okay? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-12 is approved. Thank you.
And talking with Rick just a moment ago, to get to Bryan Head off of SR 14, you do get a beautiful view through Cedar Breaks. Our next item, 7A-13, is a list of 8 projects that were presented last month. In the May 21st, 2021 Transportation Commission meeting, the State Roads Legislative Projects and State Roads Transportation Investment Fund projects were approved in scope and project value. The full list would then be placed in the draft 2022-2026 STIP. In order to maximize the use of available funding, the department requests the approval to amend the project listed above into the current 2021-2025 STIP. This will allow for contracting activities to start and work to begin as soon as July 1st, 2021. So these 8 projects listed here. And a map showing dispersed throughout the state from Ogden to St. George. Our request today is to amend the project list above from the draft 2022-2026 STIP to the 2021-2025 STIP as detailed.
So moved.
Marlo, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Donna, let's clear out for the Region 4. Any questions regarding those?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-13 is approved. Thank you. Thank you.
Item 7A-14, US 191, Arizona State Line to Bluff and Sand Island Bridge Scour Mitigation. Bridge Scour Mitigation project is a project combination. These 2 projects, the US 191 Arizona State Line to Bluff projects, will add asphalt to help preserve the roadway from Arizona to Bluff. Within the project limits, an additional project will be constructed during the same year. The additional project will preserve and repair an existing bridge, which is the Sand Island Bridge. To simplify coordination and reduce costs, the 2 projects will be combined and advertised as one project. Shown here on our map, the bridge scour is within the pavement preservation project. This is informational only. The full project values and scopes will be included in a single project identification number.
I was actually on that recently and I agree with you. So that is in the middle of nowhere. Great place to be. Being in Arizona, but it needs it.
So may I ask one question? I think maybe it's last to the last one. What will be the difference of the commission approval only, information only, or approval? What will be the change, the language for the statement? You know, the decommissioning is no reluctance in education.
I'm sorry, let me make
Difference
sure I
between
understand.
for commission information only or for commission approval?
So as both of these projects were already approved by the commission in both scope and funding, so we will not be changing the scope or the funding allocated to those projects. This is just a project combination. that will be combined into a single bidding package.
Thank you.
If we were going to change the funding or the scope of that, of these projects, we would need approval from the commission. Our next item, 7A15, is SR 18 South Bluff Head Tunnel, is a funding addition of both Transportation Solutions and local funding. The South Bluff Pedestrian Tunnel in St. George.
We didn't vote on number 14.
There was no impact. The South Bluff Pedestrian Tunnel in St. George was recently bid but the bid prices came in high, nearly $500,000 more than expected. St. George City has been a valuable partner and is currently providing approximately half of the cost originally planned. In consultation with St. George City, UDOT is proposing to award the project. St. George will provide an additional $250,000 along with the $250,000 coming from UDOT to allow the project to be awarded to the low bidder if approved by the commission. Shown here on our map with a diagram. Included in the packet is a letter of support and contribution from St. George City. And our request today is a motion to add funds to the SR 18 South Bluff Head Tunnel as detailed.
Law second.
Okay. There's a motion on the second. Any further questions, comments? Again, now this is the main street in St. George. We have already trails coming about, trails come and dead ends, and then they have to go over the main street to connect other sides. So this will really go underground and make it safe for all the connections.
It's really working too by all accounts, right?
So all in favor of this project, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7A-15 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is 7B, the active transportation projects funded by Senate Bill 2. And I get to release the con there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. This item is a continuation of the discussion from last month's meeting related to Senate Bill 2 funding for active transportation in the amount of $35 million. So I'm going to turn the time over to Stephanie Tomlin from UDOT Planning to talk about approach, status, and next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Stephanie Tomlin. I'm the Data Modeling and GIS Manager in the Central Planning Group. So I'm going to pull up the Transportation Commission website. We'll scroll down to the Transportation Commission site. The documents that I'll be referencing are right here under the active transportation link. So we'll select that. It's very small text. As Ben mentioned, this is a continuation of a discussion that we had at the last commission meeting. So just a quick reminder of what we're talking about here, $35 million in appropriated funding for active transportation projects throughout the state. So the department, UDOT, was tasked with taking a list of active transportation projects and running them through our TIP active model. So what that does, as you can see here, it took all of the projects that we were considering and it ranked them according to the metrics that we were using to evaluate the projects. You can see the list here, starting with the number 1 ranked project, underpass below US 89, 91 at Logan River, and it went down from there. So that was what we discussed at the last meeting, if you recall. So if you scroll down to the next page in the document, you can see this is what we've taken that ranked list and we've started having conversations with the local communities because This funding does still require a 20% match from the local community. So we need to make sure that that match is there and that the local community feels like this is something they want to pursue. So I'll zoom out just a little bit just so you can see this whole page, but the legend is at the bottom of this page and it articulates, there's the color coordination. So you can see green, that means that the local community has agreed and committed to that match amount and the project is ready for construction soon. The yellow means that we need to have further coordination. We've initiated discussions, we've started talking about some things, but we need to continue those discussions in order to get to a place of yes or no. And then the red, that indicates that the project is not ready for funding at this time, and further study and evaluation is needed for potentially constructing the project in the future. So you can see on this, we've included the total project cost estimate, the minimum local match requirement of 20% of that total cost estimate, the SB2 funding portion, so is essentially 80% of the project cost. And then the last column is a running total of that SB2 funding portion to just demonstrate how far we can get down the list, starting from the number one ranked project and working down until we get to that 35 million. So with that, I'll take any questions any of the commissioners have about the process or the project.
So that number 12 then is the bottom of what we can fund the 35 million. I understand that correctly?
Yeah, yep, so that puts us at 33 million if we get down to project 12.
Oh, I see, yeah, that's cumulative, right.
Yeah,
Got it.
yes. And then you can see project 13, to fund that in its entirety puts us at about 36 million.
So we're not putting in number 5, number 7, number 9.
The only ones that we're not including in that cumulative is just 5 and 7. And that's because those projects through discussions have determined that they're not ready for funding at this time.
Got it. That's a good chart.
If for some reason, Stephanie, they 1 or 2 just dropped off, then you replace it with the next ranking projects?
That's a great question. So yeah, and the approach that we're taking is just going down the list. So yes, if for whatever reason, any projects, decided, the local community decided that they weren't ready or didn't want to fund the project at this time, I believe our approach would be to just step down the list to the next available project.
If you make me deadline and you still have some money left over, and spend, what's going to happen that one?
That's a great question. I might phone Fred.
I would say now we're looking at a couple different options and we would come with recommendations, whether it's offering partial funding or asking if somebody would be interested in partial funding or looking for a project that fit. But I think that would be something that we would come with a recommendation for and ask for input on.
Thank you.
And I believe this item is for information only.
Yes.
And so I wanted to point out our next steps for this, if I may. So we're, as I mentioned, we're still in communication with all the local communities. We anticipate, or we're striving for the August commission meeting to have a funding recommendation to present to commission. But we just wanted to update you on this process and the status of our communications with these communities.
Any questions from Stephanie? Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great.
Our next item, item 7C, is for review information only. Each year, the Rural Transit Group presents the statewide rural transit program to the commission for inclusion in the draft STIP. The statewide rural transit program is a planning level summary of the project and cost estimates of both FTA and state funded projects. In fiscal year 2020, federal CARES funds will not require a local match for the recently passed CARES Act. This will save the state and local entities money that can be used on other current needs. And this is informational only. included in this list is 3 pages, the 2022, 2023, and a 2024 and 25 year that is being reviewed right now with no current recommendations of individual projects. So shown here is the subrecipients of the Federal Transit Administration funding. And this is for the Rural Public Transit Program, which is basically I've heard it explained as the donut around the UTA service area. Again, included in the packet are these three pages of funding. One of the reasons why is, as we look, the summary at the bottom shows 42 million available in 2022, and our 2023 amount is 16 million. The big difference is the CARES Act and some money that's rolling forward, and so that the Rural Public Transit team is making sure that the subrecipients that need funding is available, rather than creating a pad that will carry transit providers into 2027 and 2028. Trying to utilize that money earlier. Our next item is 7D, is the Recreational Trails Program. Sorry, yes, is there any questions? Thank you.
Any questions from Commissioner? You go to that.
Thank you. Item 7D is the Recreational Trails Program, also for review. We have Chris Haller from the Utah State Parks and Recreation Division. The Federal Recreational Trails Program was authorized by Congress in 1991 as part of the Intermodal Service Transportation Efficiency Act of 1991. This act established the Recreational Trails Program funding and the Federal Recreational Trails Trust Fund. The Recreational Trails Program grants are available for non-motorized and motorized trails project. This program was continued through current authorization. These projects are selected and administered through the Utah State Parks and Recs Division. Funds may be used to provide and maintain recreational trails for motorized and non-motorized recreational trail uses, including trailside and trailhead facilities. It includes provisions to facilitate access for people with disabilities as well. For the 2022 program, Utah has 30 projects totaling 2.3 million or 2.2 million of federal aid funds, 9.6 million of sponsor matching funds, for a total just under 11.9 million of new project value. Again, Chris Haller with the Utah State Parks and Recreation Division is administering this program. We have some examples of past projects. And included in the packet is a list of the applications that were received, those that are being recommended, and I believe the 3 that are not being recommended to move forward based on funding is also included as the last page. With that, I'd like to invite Chris to add anything that I missed, Chris.
Well, wonderful job, Ivan, and also my apologies for not being there in person, and want to thank the commission for the time today, and also director for allowing us this opportunity to present in front of the Transportation Commission on the last Saturday of June as we move forward, or excuse me, last Friday of June as we move forward towards July. And so this year's RTP, we're down significantly on our applications. We average approximately 70 applications. This year we only received 32, but what a unique way to look at this is that we are, through our 2 different advisory councils, we are recommending trying to fund 30 out of the 32, which is unheard of here in Utah. And so not all of the projects that were asked to be funded the full amount, because we wanted to try to fund as many of the projects as we possibly could. So kudos goes to those advisory council members. And along those lines, there's property acquisition that's included in some of the grant applications or recommendations. There's winter snowmobile trail grooming, to be performed by our division as potential funding, along with the extension of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail in Cache County. So those are just some brief highlights.
Good morning, Chris. How are you doing? I love the GQ look. Looks great on you.
Well, thank you so much. You are very, very kind. Thank you.
I was impressed to see there's only 2 projects that didn't get the funding. Can you explain why they didn't? They didn't have a criteria, or what happened there?
Yeah, they were just on the cusp of actually not really meeting the requirements within RTP. One was an overall equipment purchase, which there's this little traumatizing situation called Buy American that's associated with the Recreational Trails Program grant. And so there was just some things that we didn't feel comfortable as a council. They didn't feel comfortable in not recommending those. And then the second one there, the Utah Lake Parkway, the project description wasn't written in such a manner that it met the minimum qualifications regarding RTP. And so those were the only 2 that the council didn't feel comfortable in trying to perform some type of funding for those projects.
Can they come back, Chris, later on and present their case again with funding?
I didn't quite hear that. Could you please repeat?
Can they come back, this UPR project, can they come back and ask for the council to look at it again, to look at maybe additions?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. They could come back and make application next year. We will probably sit down with both of the applicants and say, hey, here's what we would recommend, and try to minimize some of those items and hopefully make an improvement in their application next year if the 2 agencies decide to go that route.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Appreciate it.
Yes. So in August, we will be back with the list to request approval to move forward with these projects. Our next item, 7E, my chance to release the con again to Jared Esselman from Aeronautics.
Thank you, Commissioner. Not much different from what we reviewed in May, but a few things that I want to go over with you, just a few differences. We did have some, and do you have the spreadsheet for that? You scroll down. Oh, yes. Oh, am I scrolling down? Sorry. Look at me.
Just go slowly, it's maybe busy.
I'm going to inch away at this. There we go. So this is what you saw back in May. I just want to cover a few of the changes. I was a little nervous to bring some of the St. George changes because they're cost adjustments. We had some bids come in higher, but after I saw the previous project come in much higher, I was like, oh, okay, not so bad. But St. George did have some cost adjustments. They had some bids on projects come in much higher than we expected. One particular change I want to cover with you that we've actually changed twice. The blanding AWAS, those bids came back, and I'll just say it, horrendously high. Oh, AWAS, sorry. The automated weather observation system. So there is the system there that pilots listen to on the radio and get the weather at the airport. That system we're replacing, and our bids came in surprisingly high. Matter of fact, we had to break the project up over 2 years. I went back and said, no, this is too high. We're not paying this much for an AWAS. So we sat down with the FAA, the one bidder, and the blanding airport manager. We negotiated it out. They dropped the price of their bid. It will be in 1 year, and the FAA has agreed to pay for it fully. So we thought that was a pretty good win. So just so that you know, that's a good change. That's a good change. We did adjust the cost of the price on the South Valley Master Plan, the master plan for the airport. Those came in a little bit higher, so we did have to adjust that. We added an expansion design, just a design project for Dutch John. And we added a fuel pump replacement project at Blanding. This one is actually a follow-up from about 4 years ago, where Blanding asked us to replace the fuel pumps. And we asked them what their fuel flowage fee was. They didn't have one. Said, okay, you need one for us to legally be able to help you with this. They have done the work. To their credit, they have really done the work. They have their fuel flowage fleet in place. They have a new FBO, and now they're coming back to us with this project, and we're more than happy to do that for them. So, those are the major changes. Other than that, everything has remained essentially the same. And I would be glad to answer any questions on it.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, please.
before I make a motion to approve this, my first career was in aviation and I love it. I don't do anything at all to help Jared in his operation, but I do want to report that once upon a time, I was the AWOS for St. George and for Page, Arizona, and for Ely, Nevada. So the fact that there is actually automated technology rather than someone out looking at the clouds, I think is very cool.
Thank you, Donna.
So with that, I make a motion to approve this list.
And I'd second. You know, I remember I was a few months into doing this, being a commissioner, and also we're talking about airports. Airports, I thought we do highways. Well, it's transportation. So anyway, I realized the scope of all things, but it's been fun to learn about all those airports all around the state.
Thank you.
What happened to the old fashioned windsocks that you could just say wind coming from east to west or south to north?
We still have those too.
Yeah, Millard County has one of those on this list.
That's right.
So with that, you need approval on this for this one.
Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just a quick comment as to why there's a little difference. Aeronautics has state funding. So by giving approval in today's meeting from July 1, they're able to begin working on those projects versus our next item, which is we will be asking for approval to move forward in August for a October 1st funding. The last item is 7F. It's to approve to release approval to release the draft fiscal year 2022 and 2027 STIP for public comment. The draft STIP has been prepared and summarized to reflect guidance and suggestions resulting from region priorities and the March and April Commission workshops. Upon approval of the release, public notice will be posted through the Utah Media Group, and the draft will be placed on UDOT's website. The formal comment period begins 26th of June 2021 and extends through the 30th of July 2021. The draft STIP can be sorted by county and region. A link to submit public comment will be provided on the UDOT website. The draft STIP will be brought back to the Transportation Commission for approval in August, along with any comments received. Included in the exhibit they're not attached in the packet, however, directly from this page, it links to the list by region, and then also the ability for the user to run the report directly from UDOT systems as well. Our request today is a motion to approve to release the draft fiscal year 2022-2027 STIP for public comment.
I'd second that.
This motion in the second. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Item 7A has passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. That was wonderful. Okay, item number 8 in your agenda is information items. Of course, we have the upcoming. Let's do the committee first one, and the people I mentioned the upcoming. So if you have attended any of your meetings, what we're doing, anything, update us, then please do so. Now, next.
Yeah, no updates for me. Thanks, Monday.
More report.
No updates.
Donna, anything you want to share before you leave?
I have nothing.
I just had my annual policy making with the CIB at the Rice Campus for 2 days. Where we have a new chair of the CIB now, Hugh Coogan. We discussed some of the opportunities that we have, and about 13 projects that they are looking through, and they got funded. So we are kind of concerned about what's going to happen in the future of the CIB due to lack of gasoline tanks and other challenges came from the federal government. And the actually gas and all these opportunities is for us, which is a source of income for CIB. So we're working with some alternate ways to get some money coming in for us to do projects. That was enough before. Then we have upcoming commission meetings, which is going to be all in person. We're excited. We have July off, so we'll have your celebration of the 4th of July, 24th of July, and all the family gatherings. But August 12th and 13th will be in Brno. And that's going to make Commissioner Mantasco happy, so you don't have to go all the year. November 18th, 19th will be in Moab. Sorry, September 1st, 16th, 17th, 19th, still okay. And then November 18th and 19th, Moab, and the conference of those posters meeting on December 17th, October meeting day. If you have any questions, then thank you. Okay. So August, Brno, September, Layton, October, Vineyard, November, Moab, and December, Conference. Any other information about the share the commission? Yes.
Just a quick question on on all of those, there'll be a Thursday and a Friday.
Yes, hopefully we'll have.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Probably not on the December meeting, but what we'd like to do, Commissioner Gochner, is to be able to provide opportunities to go out and look at the facilities and hopefully have a little bit more casual conversations with elected officials to better understand their needs.
But yeah, Thursday, those meetings will be there, hopefully true of the communities and projects. Any other comments that want to share? Jen?
I'm good. Thank you for that good meeting.
Any updates from the directors? I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn for the last meeting. That's not debatable. Thank you.
You.
Have fun, have a wonderful weekend.